Welcome. This is the second conversation. It's not exclusively one after the other, but we are going to talk about the museum. But before that, I would like to remind everybody that finally we have hopefully a date to reopen the museum. We hope we will be able to welcome everybody back on the 19th of May, Wednesday, and the tickets went on sale today. You can book them online as we've done before, and then you can you will have reserved tickets as well. And we also managed to extend the exhibition of Mita, and will be open until the 20th of June. So we will have plenty of time for everybody that people missed it before or would like to come back again to have a look at it. And in the meantime, if you would like to buy the catalogue or visit our shop online, the shop is still open, and we will send the things out even now that the museum is closed to the public. And I think it's all about the housekeeping. Obviously, we are very looking forward to this conversation, and we can have a question you can put it on the chat. And again, if I can ask people to switch off the camera so we use less bandwidth, and we can actually have a better view. I know last week when we were talking, apparently I froze a few times because probably our broadband is not great, especially when we show pictures. And I think it's all about it. Also, please keep on joining us from the website. And also you can join with the newsletter if you're not a member. You can. And the other thing we would like to announce, and also, so we will have another 2 talks in April about Morandi and the exhibition we've done on Morandi. So we're continuing in exploring the archives of the Estorick Collection, and we want to sort of dedicate 2 talks on the Morandi exhibition we had, and they would be with Professor Paul Caldwell, who helped us and curated one of the show with me, and also we collaborated with the other shows about Morandi, which would be extremely interesting to do. Going back to today, again, is Chris and I, we've been working together for a very long time, and the exhibition, the program of the exhibition at the Estorick, they always been sort of created together. And last week we sort of explored the first period of the museum until the refurbishment. It's probably the people that know us and have been here before. You know, we closed in 2016 for 6 months to redo and to bring up to date the museum. Until then, it's obviously the exhibition, they didn't change very much, but also I think the building has changed. And because especially now the building is not only, or the Estorick Collection is not only the building, but also is in the works of art, and they're very much integral part together between the 2. And all the exhibitions that we've done, most of the time are inspired or linked in somehow with the permanent collection. Yeah. Chris, probably you want to talk a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think we sort of covered that. We covered that last week, didn't we? About how yeah, it's always the starting point for all our shows, and you know, it can be a very elastic kind of remit that we have there. We're not sort of restricted too much. The permanent collection is very much a sort of a springboard to other things, and they can be often, you know, linked very sort of on a tangential kind of character, or very, very directly. But it allows us to keep this sort of distinctive profile that we have, but to explore, you know, probably at sometimes surprisingly wide range of subjects, really.
And I think probably the exhibition we picked for this time shows even more that how things happen in various ways. And I think it's the building gives us some restrictions, but on the other hand, I think is a very good way of working. So to try to do something in our building, and we don't have an empty box, but we actually have it's grade 2 listed building, and we have to work with it. It's the same as well as the collection. I think it's not an encyclopedic survey of the 20th century Italian art. Is very much a selection by a couple and with their own taste, but also gives us the opportunity to fill the gaps in a sense. And this is actually the most exciting way to look at it. And we can always see what they didn't choose or what they knew about it, but they didn't like, and also what came before or after. And this very much as is sort of the way we approach it. And I think probably we can, if I can share my screen.
Yeah, as you say, the building isn't just a sort of a white cube style kind of anonymous place. It's a very sort of characterful sort of space. I don't like using the word space, but I kind of have to. And as you say, yeah, it's completely linked with who we are. That sort of sense of identity. The building in Canterbury Square, absolutely.
Yes, this is obviously a picture of the building, and maybe as where we left. Oh, something's. Why is this not? I can't. Oh, okay. Yes, my computer is a bit needs thinking more than
yeah. That's where we left off. That's where we left off last week, I think. Absolutely,
and it's and I think it was extremely welcome in a sense the change of the building, because especially when the museum was set up in between 95 and 97, the museum opened at the beginning of January 1998. There were lots of restrictions, and also the amount of money was very limited. So also certain things they needed a bit of update, and they were done very much on the shoestring. So it was a great opportunity. And for me personally, the fact actually the building was inherited the way it was designed. The program exhibition was created by Chris and myself throughout the years, but also by not the building. So in a sense, this was an opportunity to adapt the building and to bring it back to the century, and to make it more spacious, more airy, and also more welcoming for the works of art. I think
a lot brighter as well, significantly brighter, isn't it? That
especially the hallway. Yes, there was I always felt that it was like going in a sort of provincial swimming pools in the early 80s. But no, I think it is, and it was traumatic, because I think we all had to move around. We didn't move out, which was challenging.
I was going to say it's worth bearing in mind that we were working amidst all of this upheaval at the time.
Together with the paintings as well, which was, I think that was the best thing. We were all in one room for quite a few months, and it was together with the paintings. I think that was
open plan working environment, which was yeah.
Also, lots of things, especially not in the galleries upstairs, but downstairs, especially here. There's lots of things that have been moved around. This is the new I think Gents Loose, which is didn't exist and was sliced off from the kitchen, and but upstairs it was actually much more just a tidying up. I think mainly what I really annoyed me in a sense, it was there were so many bits extra on the ceilings, on the walls, sort of, and it needed to be much more streamlined and clean and tidy. And I think it's a change, getting rid of the carpet and getting the stairs white was very much very important to me. And also the lighting. This is a reminder. The lighting was quite bad, and I think the fact, first of all, from a environmental point of view, going on to LED was very important to us. But also the quality of the lighting changed dramatically, and we went to all LEDs. But also we opened much more. The windows were open with new blinds and things, and I think it changed the quality of the visit as well.
I was going to say, apart from I mean, I know a lot of these things were I know a lot of these things were very you know, they had to be changed they weren't just kind of purely cosmetic, let's say, but there were some other sort of really useful aspects as well, like the photo that you just had about the one of the galleries upstairs where the wall was all completely stripped back. Everything was sort of relined, wasn't it? Because over the years, I mean, obviously these walls get like Swiss cheese because they're constantly drilled and refilled and drilled again, all in the same kind of central band, pretty much.
It's another choice that we had throughout the years. By the way, we don't use hanging system because we feel that the paintings, they look better just on the wall, the way they're properly fixed to the wall. But obviously everything has got some downside. You do have to drill a lot of holes all the time.
Yeah. So that was kind of nice to kind of start from scratch again, almost with those walls.
Yes, we're now feeling very precious to make a hole.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also the hole, I think, is the entrance and the shop is what everybody notices when they come in. It's so dramatically different, and for the better. This I particularly like the picture with the sink in the middle. That used to be our cleanest cupboard, and is but also I think rejigging what we could, because certain limitations were very structural. You can't knock all the walls down, and it will never be like a loft like. But I think the entrance, the welcoming entrance, is very interesting.
Yeah.
And also,
no, go on.
Sorry.
No, you were just freezing a little bit there.
Sorry. I think talking about the hole and the light, there's to open up the entrance with the full glass door was very important, and it was very we dreamt to be able to do it, but it was being a grade 2 listed building, we didn't know if it was possible, but it was a good thing, and actually transformed, as well as the conservatory. I think this is when we did the work for the conservatory, opening, and the other thing for the light, it was opening the balcony between the ground floor and the first floor.
There were one or two teething problems with the new front door, but we went.
Probably some of our visitors did remember we had quite a few problems.
Yeah.
And also the gardeners again works in the garden, and the addition of the conservatory, which I think made very much use of integrate the garden with the museum as well.
It looks a lot more lush than it did in those photos you were showing the previous week. It's
yes, 20 years the trees grow.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we, after 6 months of upheaval and lots of work and lots of decisions, and as anybody that done a building project know, and this was a big building project, because we also changed all the air conditioning and everything else, and we finally got to the stage to be able to reopen. And how do you reopen a museum after such a major works?
Yeah, well, it was again, I was looking at these slides earlier, and it struck me that we didn't go with something necessarily so easy to open up with. It was, I mean, we had to open up with something dramatic, I suppose, but it was, I don't know, it was quite an ambitious show in its own way, really. Certain aspects, anyway.
Also, I think.
No, I was just going to say, nice to work with Jonathan Black again, and nice to have that kind of that link between Italian culture and British culture as well, which is it's always kind of nice if you can make some kind of link there as well. You know, it's a sort of an added dimension, I think, to shows.
And also what it became very important that we were reopening this beautiful building, and with the works of art, I think in the photographs, they were very beautiful, but in a way they were very impactful. And I think we consider very much to start with, what do we need? Some installation, do we need a reproduction, replaying? And then that didn't work. I was against it in a sense, because it was it's supposed to be, we are a museum, we are not an experience in that sense. And is and very sadly it struck me to that to work with an artist would work. And I saw by chance I knew his work very well, but also by chance something that Keith Roberts did regarding the First World War, and immediately thought, this is it, it's gonna work. And it was a very tight, because I think we was only September, October when we started talking about it, but it was something that fitted, because it was a response by contemporary artists, somebody with very much a sensitivity and an interest in First World War. And also it was a very nice conversation he had with the curator of the show, Jonathan Black, as you said. So it's I think the work that we put in the galleries in relation with the works of the sort of the beginning of the show we had, they actually worked very well. And I think it's also the group, because to start with, my idea was to have a couple of pieces just in the galleries, but then it actually became an installation. And here we have the plane that actually sort of arrived in bits in the galleries, and these are the show of the two galleries. And I think they didn't disturb each other, but actually it was complemented very well, or at least it seemed like what everybody felt like we did.
Yeah, no, it was a really popular show. Obviously, I mean, there was also the element that we'd reopened and people were coming to see that, but I think people did really respond to the works. And I don't want to do a sales pitch, but I believe the catalogue is back in stock, isn't it? In the
yes, I think we have a few copies. Yes, we found a few copies. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I saw there was one sold today online. So it's yes, it's it's still popular. And it's but also yes, this is Caporetto is the works by Keith, and it's actually then shown in different galleries as well. But I think it's in the pristine, clean galleries, it looked amazing. And is and also there's some other details. And also we had which was probably quite hard, with the map of Italy, which
the region of the sort of the fighting. Yeah.
That Keith drawn on the walls for us. Yeah. And I think it's
well, I was going to say that, you know, that one was quite an ambitious show in a way, but it was followed up with an equally
that's it.
The Balor Exhibition. I mean, I think that was probably one of the busiest shows we've put on. It doesn't actually look that sort of crowded there, but it was very densely packed, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was a great opportunity. We, for a very long time, we wanted to do a Giacomo Balla show, but obviously to do a show that would have been involving lots of different museums, and this. But the conversation we had with Laura Biagiotti, that she had a beautiful collection, and she very generously decided to lend lot of all the works we wanted from her collection. So it's actually had a part of being beautiful works by Balor, but also the fact was one collection, and we're always very keen to put our private collection, in the sense of the collection, the Eric and Salome, in conversation with other collectors to see how people approach. And I think it's something I'm always very interested in, how people approach the collecting is art in a sense as well.
I think that the fact that there were so many pieces in it as well, though, that they were, it was really in keeping with the nature of Balor's art, and also Balor himself. I mean, his own house was completely plastered, wasn't it? Every square inch was decorated, and so he painted
everything from sort of light switches to
exactly. And it was great for me, that show, because I mean, one of the things I've enjoyed working on all of the shows really is at the Estorick is that so many of the works that I know really well on paper or from books, you know, over the years studying these artists and so on, seeing them kind of appear in the museum over the years. So like the Balor, the fashion designs, it was amazing to see those, because my BA thesis like years ago had been on Balor's fashion. So to see the small, you know, these little designs that I kind of knew like the back of my hand, really, to see them in reality was, really fantastic.
Also,
probably point out here, this isn't a canvas that's being...
No, exactly. This is the installation, because we found after last week that seemed like everybody are very interested in see, and it is there were so many bits, and is also our galleries are fairly small. The slides earlier we saw the crates, and it is the logistic of an exhibition, which can be great fun, but it's also quite time consuming and also quite stressful at times. And I think and this is also it's always quite fascinating. We often take pictures during when all the crates arrive, and then you see the chaos, and then 3 days later and you see something like this, very serene and organized in a sense.
It's always, I was going to say this last week actually, it's always, you know, I work with sort of these dimensions on paper of these works, you know, for months, and then the works arrive and they're always somehow a surprise in terms of their size. They're always smaller or bigger than I expect. I don't know how that is, but
yes, I think it's something that I heard says is that you spend days and looking at them. Also, most of the time, I've seen the works before they arrive. In this case, I went to Laura Beggiotti's castle in Rome, and they had all the things on display. But then, still, when you see in your own space, is different, and is and also, despite you look at the image, you know exactly what is a meter is a meter, and actually is also there is the frames, also the impact of the frames.
The frames are a big thing, because obviously you're just seeing the image. Normally you're not seeing there's a you know a mount in the frame, and the frame can be very ornate or very simple, and that completely can kill something that it's next to, or you know it's really difficult to anticipate how things are going to,
and also how together, the works talk to each other. Despite you can fit inch by inch or meter by meter in the galleries, then they don't work. And I think that is what very much is the great part of being a curator, I suppose, is the fact actually you do the hang and you make happening, you tell the story with the hang, and that's what is makes, I think makes sense. Is an exhibition is not a book, is what you show, and they regardless of panels and labels, I think also the works on display, they have to tell a story by themselves, as well as giving all the information on the side. Also last week we were, and I think we're already getting closer to the time, but last week we were asked one of the trickiest show, and as I think Chris picked.
Yes,
go to the next slide.
Yes, exactly. I've selected my challenging exhibition, which was the fairly recent Boccioni sculpture show. I mean, I'm really glad we did it because I think it was such a worthwhile show to do art historically. I mean, for anybody who didn't see it, the exhibition was really about recreating a number of the futurist Umberto Boccioni's sculptures, plaster sculptures, which were destroyed in 1927 and only known from vintage photographs. So these photographs that were all taken from different points of view were used to create 3D, a sort of a digital 3D model of how they would have looked in reality. So it's really, really fascinating. And we'd been in touch with Matt Smith, one of the two.
I think we have pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Do we? Where is it? Here they are.
At the end, yeah. Matt there.
Yeah, it's all happened by, in a sense, is yes, it all started very small, and then they came in the office and with the showing us, and by the end of the meeting, we kind of decided, no, this is a big show, we want to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because initially when I sort of was having the chat to Matt, I was like, oh, this could be a nice little thing in Gallery 4, and then we were just discussing it with you, and you were like, well, I think we should go one step further than that. And in actual fact, it was like 3 steps further, because it was like, oh, let's do them all, let's make them all.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I know, I get excited and I take over.
I mean, I think it's really
possible.
I think it was really good that we did, but there were a few dicey moments along the way, because obviously these things are quite large, and creating them is not a quick process. So there was also the complication that these 3D prints, the intention was to print them as 3D prints from the ground up, and these are huge things. So even on the last day, if something had gone terribly wrong, that would have been quite a major problem for the show. So in actual fact, one of them we had sculpted out of foam rather than built up in layers like as a normal 3D print would be.
Experimental. It was only 2 years ago, and it was still on the cusp of being. Nobody else has done it as well. So it's also for us why, in a way, part of it was the excitement to do something as a pioneer, but also that was dicey.
Yes, I mean, and the other, I mean, as you can see, the one in the middle there, just in front of the work that's wrapped, that was kind of a misprint, I think, wasn't it? So was that
actually,
one?
I may have one. Often I still have the memento, but it was often, but obviously this was, we used to have a small 3D printer, but this is that's what often happened. In fact, they actually halfway they went wrong.
Go completely wrong. And so and we actually had sort of examples of that that kind of thing happening in the show. So but as I say, I mean, it was really incredible, because I think, you know, when Matt brought one of those sculptures into the office and we looked at it, you know, we were like, there was only a handful of people that had seen this sculpture since 1927, and that was quite a moment, really. And I think it really, as I say, I think it was a really important thing to do. And there's also something new in the sense that these weren't works of art that we were showing. It was almost like a sort of art historical detective story or something, you know, to try and sort of piece these things back together again. And the work that you showed at the beginning with the red marks on them, those were the red areas corresponded to areas where the photographs, you know, the old photographs didn't show certain areas. So Anders and Matt had to sort of fill in the gaps with some sort of educated guesswork. I mean, they knew these sculptures like the back of their hand by the time they finished the project.
Also, because the lucky things about and why this was possible, because we had photographs that they actually different photographs, and there were lots of them in the exhibition they were from each side. So it's actually most of it is despite they all disappeared the works of, but it actually there was so much so many traces of them.
Yeah,
and
yeah. So you know, I'm glad it turned out the way it did in the end, because yeah, I think it was I think it's quite an amazing thing to see, really. As I say, the intention was to print them in one go, but the one in the middle was sculpted from foam, and I think the one at the end was assembled, wasn't it? The certain elements were printed.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was too risky to take the time to print them and then they go wrong in the last minute. But
yes,
yeah.
because there's always most of the things actually probably why we can do so many things, because we sort of we are very small, basically 7 people altogether in the museum, so it's including Marco in the shop, so it is very, we need to get the opportunities as well. There's even if it's we work in very tight time frames, and so we actually, that allows us to be flexible to get the opportunities, but also it's always risky what the results that we can get as well. There is a and we never had to postpone a show.
No, absolutely.
Oh, except obviously the pandemic did sort of change our plans dramatically, but not only to the Estorick, I suppose.
That was not in that was out of our control.
Yes, and in most of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
yes.
half. Oh, but we still have the head, don't we? That if anybody is interested in seeing the one of those sculptures, if they didn't get a chance to see it, we do actually still have the 3D print of the head,
which relates to our drawing by Boccioni, and it's been on display for a while. I think now it is obviously will be back on display at some point, and obviously there's I think it's well, we were talking about the pandemic, actually made us reevaluate and tidy up our archive, I suppose, and actually try to discover so many things and these talks. And I think it's quite nice to reflect on all the things we have done, and sometimes in the rush of doing, we haven't got the time to think, and it seems
it's a good moment to do it.
Yeah, and there's obviously if there are any questions, and we can if you want to
I think there are some comments but no questions at the moment, but I'm sure there'll be many questions for the Morandi event.
Yes, they've been. You can start booking them online, and but then maybe we should, if there's anything else, we can. I can stop.
I think that's it. You've already said about tickets being for sale, so yeah.
And obviously, yes, the 2 Morandi shows, they would be with with Paul Caldwell and the curator, and Morandi talks. And again, yes, please continue to follow us, and you can join on our website to keep them posted. And if everything goes okay, we will looking forward to welcome you all back. Not all of you on the 19th of May, but and also the cafe will be open as well. So hopefully we can enjoy some sunshine. Part of the lovely spring we had yesterday is already gone, but actually there is some comments.
Just comments. I think.
So just the comments, and and we will thank you again for participating, and Chris, thank you. Well, at some point I will see you in person as well. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.